Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Doctor's In. I am your doctor, C.G. Weinberg. Today, I want to talk to you about a book I read a long time ago, and it goes back actually to my crazy fourth grade teacher, who I am very much appreciative of. He did make me love school. He had us read this book in the latter half of fourth grade. And I think this book actually is a good fourth grade book. The first book he made us read as fourth graders was Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. And I would say that is not a good book for fourth graders to read, just from the sheer size and themes it deals with. But this book, the one I want to talk about today, I think is fantastic for fourth grade. And the reason for that being is because it is actually a great boys' book. Now, most fourth grade boys don't want to sit still. Most of them want to go outside and play sports. I currently have a second grader who does love to read, and he can read a solid 20, 30 minutes at a time. But much more than that, he's moving, grinding, whatnot to go outside. He's done reading. This book is one that I think could probably get him to sit still, and maybe even read the whole thing in a day, with how short it is and how easy it is. He would probably want to read through it pretty quick, and I'll probably give it to him next year. There's some language stuff in it that would be pretty tricky for him as a second grader. But the book I'm referring to is Banner in the Sky by James Ramsey Ullman. Now, the author does say that this is not a historical recap of any story, but he does take inspiration from the first summiting of the Matterhorn in Switzerland. So Mr. Ullman is a mountaineer himself. He at least does some climbing. He's always familiar with the sport. And then read up on some of the historical background of the summiting of the Matterhorn, which, if I remember correctly, was the last summit of the Alps to be summited. So all the other mountains had been climbed. The Matterhorn was all that was left, and that came down. This book is about the Citadel, which is a fictitious, inspired by the Matterhorn summit that is also the last one in the Alps to be summited. So it's a book about mountain climbing. If you can't tell by the front cover, he's on the side of the mountain, he's tied up to the rope, and he's got his red shirt on his back, his banner in the sky. Now, what makes this book, well, probably should first start off with some main characters. Main character is Rudy Matt, or Mott, as it might be said, because they're in Switzerland. He is a 16-year-old boy, the one on the front cover. And it's a story about him. It's his coming of age story. How does he grow up and become a man? Now, unfortunately for Rudy, his father actually died when he was very young. Joseph Mott. And Joseph died on the Citadel. So Joseph was a guide, one of the best guides of his town, and was one of the few guides that believed that the Citadel could be summited, and so he led an expedition to go up it, and unfortunately lost his life when Rudy was quite young. Joseph's brother Franz is also a guide in town, and Franz will do any summit around except for the Citadel. And Rudy is living in the shadow of this mountain. And the shadow is metaphorical because it means many, many things to him. Because it's the shadow of his father. It's the shadow of his father's legacy. It's the shadow of the mountain itself. And anyone who comes to summit it, Rudy thinks that there's a chance that whoever comes to summit it will take away his father's legacy of being the man to summit the Citadel. And so Rudy is dealing with all these things as a 16-year-old boy. And Ullman actually does a really good job of dealing with the problem and the emotions behind it like young boys do. Young boys are not hyper emotional generally. They're just kind of emotional. And Ullman does a really good job of giving Rudy the right amount of emotions about the situation. One of these key emotions that Rudy has to deal with is actually fear. So very early on, he meets another protagonist in the story, Captain Winters. Now, Captain Winters, Rudy doesn't know this, has come to the town to summit the Citadel. And Rudy runs into Captain Winters while Winters is actually stuck in the bottom of a crevice. And Rudy's never met Winters and just knows that Winters has been down this crevice for about 3 hours, and it's 2-hour trek down to the village and a 3-hour trek back up. And so at 8 hours, he knows that by the time he can get back with help, he knows that Winters will be dead. So they're up on a glacier. Winters is stuck in a crevice and no rope, no help. And Rudy is there, and he knows that he has to solve this problem. And fear wells up inside of him, rightly so. I mean, he's a 16-year-old boy, and he knows that the life of a man is in his hands, and he has no easy means to help him. Rudy is not a big child. He's known as being scrawny, actually. His nickname is Angel Face, and so he's a young boy, not big, faced with the challenge of rescuing a man he doesn't know from death. And so what does he do? Takes off his shirt, Winters can't, and hangs it off his walking staff, and Winters can't see it. Takes off his coat, hangs it down, ties his shirt, hangs it down, and Winters can almost touch the coat. So Rudy does the last thing he can, takes off his pants, ties them all together, checks the knots, and hangs it down off his staff, down in the crevice, so Winters can grab hold. So here you have the 16-year-old skinny kid laying down in the snow on the ice glacier, telling an unknown climber to grab on and climb up, and I'm going to hold you. The climber down below does not know it's a scrawny 16-year-old kid and is the one telling him this. But Rudy knows this is it. I have to save this life. I have no choice. I must ignore the fear and buckle down and do this. So Winter climbs up, and Rudy has no idea how long it takes. He is merely holding on for literal life itself. And at that point on, Winters is in his debt. He saves the man and becomes the hero to Winter, and actually becomes a hero. He becomes known for this in the town. And that's how he meets Winter, who then goes on to face the summit. There's a few other characters involved, but I don't want to spoil the story too much, even though it's an old book. It's one that's not well known. I haven't heard anyone else talk about it before, and so I encourage you to read it. Get it to your sons. This is a great book. The way he deals with fear is actually fantastic. Because that's not the only story about fear. I mean, Rudy eventually has to face his own fear and death later on up on the summit, along with the potential death of many other people. Does he save them, or does he go on? This also then gets down to destiny versus desire. So Rudy believes it is his destiny to follow in his father's footsteps and go up the Citadel. But then everyone in the town is telling him that he can't do that, he's too small. His family, his mother and his uncle, have spent their lifetime grooming him to take over a hotel. Currently at 16-year-old, he is the wash boy. So he is doing dishes, learning from the bottom for a hotel with the hopes and dreams of him taking it over someday. And he deals with the destiny versus desire and how do these things actually go together. And Ullman does a really good job of weaving this tale through, looking at how do these things actually play out. And another major theme is actually the overall theme of father. So Rudy has real father hunger. He is looking for a mentor to actually help him do his what he believes is his destiny. And there's one old cripple that'll help him, Leo. He lives in his father's shadow, the shadow of the mountain, along with the shadow that his father cast, that he and the town believes he'll never attain to, being the master guide. He thinks it's his destiny to do so, and everyone is doubting him to do it. He also deals with, he doesn't have a father as a guide. So who guides this young boy to become a man? And it's actually his community. Ullman does a really good job of piecemealing men together to come and talk wisdom and inspiration into Rudy's life in a very meaningful way that if you don't have a father, I think is a really good way to look at it. Or if you have a bad father, I think is a really good way to look at it. So it's super helpful. And as people get older, how do you go and gain wisdom outside of your own father's expertise? I think Ullman does a really good job of that. And finally, one other thing with fatherhood that Ullman does a good job with is how a father should inspire his son. Yosef Matt had the reputation of being the best. Winters came to his town, to Rudy's town, because he had grown up hearing the legends of Yosef Matt. That's the kind of father that can inspire a son. Yosef Matt's death plaque was up in the cabin, so everyone who tried to go to the summit would see Yosef's plate when he died as the last one being trying to summit. He was known around the world for the climbing industry, in the climbing world, as being one who was worthy of emulating. And this is something that Rudy inspires him up to. So, it's a good book for fathers too. Are you living a life that your son can be inspired to follow? What footsteps are you laying down? Are you giving your son to step into? Because Rudy actually does look for the path of his father up the Citadel. Because he had heard stories all his life of what the path that his father believed was there. And then one day Rudy went off on his own, unbeknownst to the rest of the climbing party, to find the path that he knew his father believed in. And he finds it. And he's the one that actually guides everyone to the top. He's the one who finds the path, because he follows in his father's footsteps. It's a fantastic book. I would say it's a kid's book. It's very simplistic in its language. Because it's based in Germany, there's a lot of errors and Franz and whatnot. So there is some language things that can be more challenging to younger people, which is why I'm not letting my second grade son read it currently. But definitely, if you have a young man that is struggling to read, struggling to find inspiration, struggling to overcome fear, to see what his destiny may be, this is actually a really good book that I would encourage you to share with them, to hopefully light a fire inside them to get off the couch and go do something. This is a story for young men, for boys, to help them grow up into men, and I would encourage you to share it with those who are around you. Again, Banner in the Sky, James Ramsey Ullman. It is really a fantastic one. It's a great read. Read it to your young people because they will appreciate it. The story grip is real. Just going through it to prep for this, I had a really hard time just reading my highlights because it actually is fantastic. I just wanted to sit down and read it all over again. So here is my gift to you, to go read this book and enjoy it. Now, if you like this video, give it a like. If you have suggestions for me, you want other books for me to critique, to evaluate, give me a comment. Tell me what to look at. If you want to know when my next video comes out, please subscribe. And also, if there's someone that you would like to send this video to, please share it. Spread the word. Help make this channel something. And with all that said, that is it for today. The doctor is out.